Katt Williams warned Shannon Sharpe that a white woman could topple a titan in 2 weekends, but the Hall of Famer just grinned. Now that cocky smile has curdled into panic as a $50 million lawsuit, leaked race play texts, and an audio threat of big black guy choking small white woman crash over his spotless TV persona like a tidal wave of receipts, exposing a 54-year-old chasing a 19-year-old OnlyFans model who's younger than his own kids while he dives headfirst into fetishes that even his fiercest fans call depraved. Sponsors are ghosting, old Club Shay Shay clips are looping across X, and the internet is asking one chilling question: how did a man paid millions to analyze discipline on the field have so little off it? Keep watching, because every warning he laughed off, from Katt's prophecy to Monique's mother auntie advice, now reads like the script of his downfall, and the next revelation is the one that might bury the legacy he spent decades building. Katt's words didn't just age well, they mutated into prophecy. Scroll back to that Club Shay Shay taping. Katt lounges, eyes twinkling, drops the line about 2 weekends, and the studio laughs. Everyone except Shannon. Freeze frame the moment and you can practically hear his pulse hammering. Shoulders tense, eyes darting, forced grin tightening like a faulty helmet strap. Katt keeps riffing, painting a picture of a superstar sprinting straight into a legal buzzsaw, and Shannon fidgets with his mug as if it might hide him. Viewers wrote it off as comedy, but TikTok sleuths are replaying the clip in slow-mo, pointing out micro-reactions, swallow here, lip twitch there, arguing that Shannon already knew he was living the punchline. That episode was filmed smack in the middle of his secret situationship with Gabriella, meaning Katt was unwittingly narrating a scandal in real time. Now the clip has gone viral, stitched atop headlines about the lawsuit, turning Katt from jester to oracle and Shannon from swaggering host to cautionary meme. The irony is brutal. The man famous for trash talk breakdowns ignored a breakdown mapped out right in front of him, live on his own show. But Katt's warning was just the first tremor. Wait until you see how the timeline of Shannon's hidden romance collides with those resurfaced texts and a very public audio leak. Shannon's private timeline is a thriller hiding in plain sight. According to court filings, he first spotted Gabriella flexing at an upscale LA gym in early 2023. He was 54, she'd just turned 19, fresh out of high school and still posting senior prom photos. Within weeks, she was flying to Vegas on his dime, swapping late-night DMs for 5-star suites, while Shannon leveraged fame like a skeleton key. VIP entrances, courtside seats, whispered promises of opportunities. By midsummer, she was a regular at his mansion, and insiders say that's when the power dynamics snapped into focus. NDAs, cash gifts, and requests for increasingly edgy bedroom roleplay she'd later call twisted. Fast forward to October, Club Shay. Shay records the now viral Katt Williams episode the same weekend. Gabriella texts Shannon about $25K per cheek, proving their arrangement was already transactional. December brings the real crack. Gabriella allegedly discovers he's recorded them without consent, storms out, and, according to her suit, receives that infamous voicemail where Shannon purrs about choking a small white woman. By January 2024, she's retained Tony Busby. By February, the $50 million civil claim is filed in Nevada, alleging assault, voyeurism, intimidation, and emotional cruelty. Fans who once saw Shannon as Uncle Shay Shay now scroll his Instagram and spot cryptic captions. "Discipline is freedom," posted on the same dates Gabriella alleges abuse, and the hypocrisy hits like a stiff arm. But the ugliest twist isn't the age gap or the leaked tape, it's the racially charged messages that explode next, turning a sordid affair into a cultural flashpoint that even his most loyal followers can't defend. Then the screenshots dropped, and the story lurched from scandalous to stomach-turning. In the leaked iMessages, Gabriella coos about wanting a big black baby, and begs for a taste of baby Gervy, phrases so cartoonishly fetish-coded that even gossip blogs blurred the vowels. At first glance, it looked like an overeager teenager trying to shock a football legend. But digital forensics buffs quickly noticed Shannon's replies were missing, redacted, or cropped out entirely. That omission lit a fire. Commentators argued the kink script originated with him, not her, and the truncated images were damage control gone wrong. The prevailing theory? Shannon commissioned the race play fantasy, Gabriella mirrored it for cash, then saved the receipts once the vibe soured. Within hours, the hashtag #raceplay receipts trended on X. Pundits replayed Shannon's old segments mocking black women while juxtaposing these fetish texts, calling it the hypocrisy supercut. Even supporters who rushed to defend the consensual aspect reeled at the power imbalance. 54-year-old multimillionaire versus a 19-year-old chasing rent money. Sponsors distanced themselves, podcasts roasted him, and culture critics framed the saga as the ugliest intersection of celebrity ego, color fetish, and generational predation. But the internet wasn't finished. The next leak, an audio clip where Shannon's own voice turns those fantasies into a threat, would torch whatever credibility he still clung to. Then came the audio, a 94-second gut punch that turned murmur into maelstrom. Gabriella quietly baiting Shannon over the phone, his baritone sliding from seductive tease to something menacing. "Yeah, I might choke you in public, big black guy, small white woman. You'd like that, huh?" Every syllable dripping with the same fetish language he now swore was weaponized against him. The clip, reportedly leaked by attorney Tony Busby, hit social feeds at dawn and detonated by lunch. Sports radio hosts played it on loop, nighttime pundits dissected tonal inflections, meme makers spliced it over slow-motion footage of Shannon stiff-arming defenders in his Broncos days, captioning it, "When ego blitzes common sense." Damage control PR statements fizzled on contact, sponsors paused campaigns, and even Skip Bayless, never shy about rival Schadenfreude, went uncharacteristically silent, a void louder than any hot take. Yet for many listeners, the worst part wasn't the threat itself. It was the giddy lilt in Shannon's voice, as if humiliating power dynamics were a private joke he finally said out loud. By evening, psychologists were quoted explaining race danger kink. Activists condemned it as internalized dehumanization, and a Change.org petition demanded networks drop him immediately. Shannon tried a midnight live stream insisting the snippet was ripped from consensual role play, but commenters flooded the chat with skeleton emojis and 2 weekends jokes, drowning him in the same viral tide that once buoyed his brand. And still, another tsunami loomed, because his next defense tactic, claiming he's the real victim of a racist legal hit job, was about to backfire in spectacular fashion. Shannon's counteroffensive landed with the grace of a fumbled snap. He fired up Instagram Live, lips pursed, eyes glinting righteous fury, declaring the lawsuit a shakedown masterminded by Tony Busby, a man who targets successful black men, he insisted, then warned a 30-second doctored clip would soon surface to smear every stereotype in the book. But the message collapsed under its own contradictions. Moments after brandishing the race card, he pivoted to blaming misunderstood fantasy, admitting the voice on the tape was his but insisting context would clear him. Comment sections ignited. "How do you cry racism after scripting it in the bedroom?" One top reply read, while another tallied his history of clowning black women on air. "From anti-wigs to cornbread-fed jokes, now you want protection?" Sponsors ghosted him in real time. A hydration brand quietly pulled his promo code before the livestream even ended. Sports pundits who once hailed Shannon's discipline highlighted the irony of a Hall of Fame tight end getting blindsided by his own appetites. And culture critics compared his plea to a player blaming the refs after throwing the game-losing pick. Worse, legal analysts noted Busby's pattern. He doesn't bluff, he drops bombs, meaning whatever 30-second clip Shannon feared probably exists. And that dread seeped through every syllable of his live stream. As the feed cut, viewers sensed he wasn't marshaling a defense, he was bracing for detonation. And before dawn, yet another prophetic voice, Monique, the comedic auntie he once dismissed, would resurface, her warnings forming the next devastating echo in this unraveling saga. The very clips that once made viewers chuckle at Auntie Monique's no-nonsense wisdom have roared back as a chorus of "told you so." In that post-Katt Club Shay Shay sit-down, she leaned in and, half joking, half pleading, begged Shannon to ditch the 20-somethings, find a grown woman who'd call out his foolishness, and save your big self from little girl problems. Shannon grinned, flexed that megawatt smile, and brushed it off with a playful, "Auntie, I'm good," never imagining those words would replay over B-roll of court filings. Now every reaction channel splices her advice beside the lawsuit timeline, turning her into the saga's second oracle and framing Shannon as the nephew who wouldn't listen. Fans marvel at the symmetry. 2 comedians, 2 warnings, 0 heed, and a fallout so textbook it could headline a TED Talk on hubris. But Monique's lecture also widens the lens, because the real conversation isn't just Shannon versus Gabriella, it's the epidemic of middle-aged men chasing youth, status, and ego until it detonates their legacies. And that bigger picture is exactly where this story barrels next. Here's where Shannon's spiral zooms out into a cautionary panorama of fame-soaked midlife crises. Scroll any gossip thread, and you'll find men over 40 flaunting cash and clout while bragging they can still pull a freshman. But the receipts tell a darker truth. From future juggling child support subpoenas to Leonardo DiCaprio sweating memes about the 25-year-old expiration date, and now Shannon Sharpe stamping his Hall of Fame resume with allegations that read like a grim parody of locker room bravado. Psychologists call it retroactive adolescence, the desperate grab for youth to outrun mortality. Yet the irony is brutal. Every screenshot, lawsuit, and leaked voicemail accelerates aging in the public eye faster than any gray hair ever could. Fans who once saluted #Auntie Shay Shay now dissect power dynamics and groomer economics, noting how consent mutates when one side wields millions, fame, and a microphone. Even locker room loyalists admit the optics are indefensible, because if Shannon, who preaches discipline like scripture, can't curb urges long enough to vet a partner's birth year, what hope do weekend warriors have? Commentators tally the collateral damage. His inspirational brand scarred, his podcast empire wobbling, and a generation of viewers forced to reckon with the myth that endless options equal endless freedom. And just when the Twitter timeline's outrage settles into uneasy silence, the final blow, Shannon's legacy collapsing under a mountain of memes, sponsorship losses, and a courtroom clock, is poised to land, proving Katt and Monique weren't prophets but mirrors reflecting a fate he refused to see. And so the scoreboard flickers. Championships, Pro Bowls, broadcast accolades on one side, $50 million suit, fetish leaks, sponsor exodus on the other, proving the numbers that matter most aren't touchdowns but judgment calls made off camera. Because even if a jury someday clears Shannon, the court of public opinion has already carved his bust into a cautionary statue labeled "Talent Isn't Character." Katt's prophecy, Monique's warning, the cringe texts, the choking tape, each felt like an isolated fumble until you string them together and realize they were a playbook spelling doom in bold font all along. Now every future Google search of his name will echo with hashtags he never dreamed would trail him. And every young athlete who once quoted his maxims will scroll the receipts and think twice before mistaking unchecked appetite for alpha swagger. Maybe that's the only silver lining, a living lesson that even Hall of Famers can bench themselves with one reckless mismatch of ego and impulse. So the next time a star shrugs off wisdom with a grin, rewind this reel, because Shannon Sharpe just showed the world how quickly legends can stiff-arm themselves straight off the highlight reel. And if you think the fallout ends here, stick around. Court dates loom, more footage is rumored to exist, and the final whistle on this saga hasn't even blown yet. Yet the gavel hasn't dropped. Court calendars show depositions slated for early summer in Clark County, and insiders whisper about an unredacted cache of chat logs allegedly detailing even darker scripts Gabriella says he demanded. If those files surface, they could nuke whatever goodwill remains and force networks to choose between ratings and reputation. Industry veterans recall how swiftly brands iced Antonio Brown once text evidence stacked too high, and executives are quietly prepping contingency host lineups should Shannon become toxic to advertisers. Meanwhile, legal analysts say Busby's discovery motions could compel Shannon to surrender every device, meaning any deleted message, any private video, could roar back from cloud backups like a ghost play nobody saw coming. So the question isn't just whether Shannon wins or loses in court. It's whether he can outrun the drip feed of receipts long enough to salvage a career built on credibility. Because legacy isn't sealed by trophies or trending clips, it's cemented by the choices you make when no cameras are rolling. And with this saga still unfolding, one truth hangs in the air. Sometimes the real game starts after the clock hits 0, and the only stat that counts is how much integrity you kept when the lights went out. When the dust settles and the court stenographers pack up, one truth will echo louder than any verdict. Shannon Sharpe didn't fumble on the field. He fumbled in the silence between text alerts, letting ego outrun wisdom until a single lawsuit unraveled decades of glory. Now every trophy glints with what-ifs, every sound bite of discipline feels hollow, and the playbook of fame has a fresh caution scribbled across page 1. Talent can't stiff-arm consequence. So ask yourself, if Katt's joke and Monique's plea couldn't pierce the armor of a Hall of Famer, what warning signs are we laughing off in our own lives? Drop your thoughts below, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next jaw-dropper, and remember, sometimes the biggest hits come long after the clock hits 0.